Good afternoon, Divisions 1 and 2. We're about to do your very last assignment for grade 8 French and from me for the year. So this assignment's going to be a little bit longer than the other ones you've been doing, but that's all right. It's going to encompass pretty much everything we've done. So those of you that had some pretty good notes, this will be really easy. If you didn't, that's okay. I'm going to do a quick review. So this is our final French project. It's titled Voyageons. Voyageons comes from the verb voyager. It's an ER verb that means to travel. So previously I asked you guys to choose from a list or something that didn't come on the list, a country or a place where French is the official language or the main spoken language. Because that's the case for Quebec, I said I would use that as an example for you guys, but you weren't to do it. You were to choose one of the European nations, one of the African nations, one of the South American nations, one of the Pacific nations. There's quite a few, lots to choose from, and most of you, sounds like you've already chosen. If you haven't, you need to do that right away and do that little few minutes of research about what's cool about that place and what kinds of things you would like to see and what you would be doing. So first off, just like I'm going to do this quickly because I already sent this out, you're going to choose one of those places. You're going to pretend that you're going with two other people. So there's three of you going together. So you can go with two friends, you can go with your parents, you can go with whoever you like. Pick two people and imagine the three of you are going to this place. So you're going to write a little paragraph in Passe Compose. That's the past tense that we learned how to do about a month ago. And you're going to tell us all about what you guys did. I'm going to give you an example, don't worry. I'm going to give you quite a few examples so you can see how to put together, and I'm going to have a requirement for the first line, the bulk of the paragraph, and the final line, and I'm going to give you scaffolding for that. We do need to review the Passe Compose really quickly. Some of you still haven't done that assignment. You really got to do that. It's not going to make sense otherwise. So here's a quick review of your Passe Compose, the completed past. There are more than one past tense in the French language. Passe Compose is an action that started in the past and it finished in the past. There's others called imparfait, plus que parfait, a few others as well. Those you'll learn much later on, grade 10, 11, if you continue with French. This is going to be why using a translator like Google Translate, where you put a whole sentence in, isn't going to work because it very likely won't choose the right one. If you don't have a traditional dictionary, if you have one of these, this is a French-English dictionary of mine. You probably remember it from the classroom. That would be best for translating single words you don't know. If you need to use the online translator because you don't have one of those, that's fine. Just make sure you're doing one word at a time and then think back to past lessons as to how you chunk together a simple sentence. I'm only asking for simple sentences here, not complex ones. If you make mistakes in the structure, don't worry about it. That is not what you're getting marked on. You're getting marked on your Passe Compose and the things that we've already done. We've talked a little bit about adjectives. We have talked about prepositions. Those things I will be looking for. But if you try to structure a long sentence and you make some mistakes, that's okay. You guys don't learn a language unless you take risks. So I want you to take risks. You're not going to be penalized for structural mistakes that you wouldn't otherwise be taught outside of a French immersion program or something like that. All right, so Passe Compose. Remember, there's three words. Il, or the personal pronoun. So that's the person doing the action. You can have a person's name there, or you could have il for he, elle for she, or so on and so forth. The second one is called the auxiliary, and the third one is called the past participle. The good news is the auxiliary is always avoir or être. The assignment that I gave you guys to do, all of them were in avoir. We didn't have time to do a separate one with être, so don't worry about it. You can use avoir for all of them. When I correct them, I'll let you know if one of them should have been être, but I won't penalize you for it. So the personal pronouns, always the same, remember. Je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle. That's the same. The auxiliary is always avoir or être. We studied the avoir. J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, Nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. Now, if you're talking about your friend, you could replace il or elle with their name, and then you keep the a, and then add your past participle. The good news is the past participle is the same for all the pronouns. For the ER verbs, you're going to take off the ER and add an accent aigu. For the IR, you're going to take off the IR and add an I. For the RE, you're going to take off the RE and add a U. Super easy. Here's a quick show of the verb parler, which means to talk. J'ai parlé. Tu as parlé. Il a parlé. Notice how the past participle is the same all the way down. Notice that this is just the verb avoir. And there's your personal pronouns. So there's a quick review for those of you guys that did it a long time ago when I first assigned it. Pardon me, I just had lunch. Or for those of you who haven't quite got to it yet. All right, so here's what your paragraph in Passe Compose is going to look like. So remember I asked you to just do a little bit of research on your place, find out what things they eat, what the countryside is like, customs, things that you would normally do in that place. And then imagine you're going there for whatever reason. It could be like a business work trip, could be for an educational experience, could be for a sports tournament, or just for fun, like for traveling. Hopefully all of you guys, when you're a little older, will have the opportunity to do some traveling of your own. All right, so for me, I chose to go to Montreal. I told you I would use Canada as an example. You guys aren't going to do Canada, you're going to go somewhere else. I chose Montreal for kind of a little emotional reason. This is a tough day for me. This is the day I would have been leaving to go to the Canada West CrossFit Sanctional. First time I've qualified for an elite competition like that, so this is a real bummer. So I decided me and my husband and my best friend would go to the Canada East CrossFit Championship, which happens in Montreal. So that's where we're going. So the first line, you're going to explain where you're going and why. So here's my first sentence. If you want to pause and write that out. Moi, that's me, comma, Kara et Josh, that's my husband and my friend. Nous sommes allés à Montréal. And I'm going to skip out on this for a little bit. Nous sommes allés. That is a passé composé conjugated with être instead of avoir. So again, if you happen to choose one of these ones that uses être instead of avoir, you'll have really no way of knowing now. So don't worry about it if you'd use the avoir there. I won't penalize you for it. To is either a or o. In this case, it's a. Montréal. Parce que means because. So I'm going to say why we're going. So moi, Kara et Josh, nous sommes allés à Montréal parce que j'ai participé. This is another passé composé. Participer means to participate in or to do. J'ai participé à un championnat. That means in a championship. Keep it simple. Don't try to give yourself a whole bunch of extra details. Translating that into another language is going to be hard work. So please, please, please keep it simple. I kind of reduced that whole concept of Canada East CrossFit Sanctional into a championship, un championnat. That's what I want you guys to do. Alrighty, that's your first line. Everyone's first line should look somewhat like that. Your next few lines in the middle of the paragraph, I'm going to give you 4 ER verbs to use in the passé composé, however you like. These are ones that are going to be really helpful to you. Rester, which means to stay. So you're going to talk about where you're staying. Manger, which means to eat. You guys all know that one. Aimer, which means to like or to love. Regarder, which means to watch or to see. And then, of course, choose something of your own. You'll notice that they're all ER verbs. That's okay. If you remember way back in September when we first started talking about conjugating verbs, we did that little exercise where you guys all got to tell me your favorite things to do, and I wrote them on the board. And we noticed that about 75-85% of them were all ER verbs. When it comes to action words, like physical actions, very often they end up being ER. So if you really, I want this to be realistic, so I don't want you to purposely go looking for an IR or an RE verb just to get it in there. This is supposed to be a realistic paragraph about a dream trip that you would like to take to a French-speaking place. So naturally, a lot of these ER verbs are going to come up. Don't worry about it if you don't have any IR or RE. I think when I did mine, I might have ended up with one. And then choice verbs. Obviously, if you're going to a tropical place where there's some of the world's best swimming or snorkeling, you're going to need to look up the verb to snorkel, to swim, to dive, those kinds of things. So obviously these first four that I gave you, rester, manger, aimer, regarder, get those in some way, shape, or form. And then anything else that is going to work for you. Okay, so here's my examples. So be prepared to pause this to write them down. So I've got 3 sentences of my own on this page. Nous sommes restés à une auberge de jeunesse. Nous sommes restés, that's your passé composé. Notice that this is again an être one. Une auberge de jeunesse is a youth hostel. So when you're traveling for sports and championships and things like that, you got to save money. So you're not staying in fancy hotels. So that's why I use that. You guys might be staying in a fancy hotel. Maybe you guys are camping. Maybe you guys are going to visit family or friends and you're going to stay in a house. Tell me where you're staying using the verb rester. Here's another one. What are you going to eat? This one's kind of a little funny here because my husband gets dragged to my competitions and I have to eat like an athlete and he gets to eat whatever he wants. So I put j'ai mangé, there's your passé composé, conjugated with avoir, j'ai mangé, du poulet et brocoli. I'm eating my chicken and broccoli. But Josh a mangé des frites. I'll let you figure out what des frites is. It's not quite as healthy. And it's quite realistic. That's definitely what he would be eating if he had to watch me. So you'll notice I have 2 different personal pronouns there. Nous for us, all 3 of us are going together and we're staying together. J'ai, that's me. And notice when I talked about Josh, I used the il form. Josh a mangé. It's the same as il a mangé. So if you're going to talk about what one of your friends is doing, you're going to use the il or the elle form. Also, Kara and Josh were hanging out together. Watching, Kara et Josh, ils ont aimé le championnat. So they enjoyed watching it. So Kara and Josh is a plural. We default to il when there's both genders involved. So if your 2 friends or family members together are both girls, you're going to use the elle form. If they're both boys or a mix, you're going to use the il form. All right, again, this is very simple. I could talk for hours about what they liked and disliked, but for the purpose of this project, I'm going to keep it simple. Alrighty, when you choose your choice sentences, I want to use multiple personal pronouns. I've got nous here, I've got je here, I've got il here, and I've got il plural there. So I want you to imagine you're doing stuff on your own. The 3 of you are doing something together. Those 2 go and do something without you. And everybody each does something on their own. So, and I want you to choose the personal pronouns carefully. We've been talking about these since September, so it shouldn't be that hard. If you need refreshers, drop me a line, I will help. Here's a couple more examples. And again, these are just examples, just so you have a lot of scaffolding to go by. Kara, which of course would be elle, because she's a girl, a regarder l'équipement. Whenever we go to these kinds of competitions together, we always eyeball the equipment and wish we could afford it on our own. That's our thing. So she's sitting there looking at the stuff going, oh, I want that in my garage. So Kara a regarder, again, that means to see, to look, to watch. L'équipement, the equipment. And now here we go. À la fin, which means at the end or in the end. Here we have a nous again. Nous avons mangé. Now we're all going to go and eat something special because we're in Montreal. Un tourtière. Some of you might have tried that before. That's a traditional Quebecois dish. It's really good. So that was how we celebrated at the end. And I'm fantasizing here. J'ai gagné le médaille de bronze. I won the bronze medal. So again, here's your passé composé, conjugated with avoir, j'ai gagné. And then what did you win? Le médaille bronze. I'm fantasizing because that was my goal to get on the podium this weekend. It's not gonna happen. Alrighty, the very last lines. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna use the verb être. Je suis, tu es, il est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont. And you are gonna use one for each person in your group and the three of you together, and you're gonna add an adjective to describe the way you are, the way you feel at the very end of your trip. So you've gone on your trip, you've experienced all this. How are you now? So for me, I'm completely exhausted because I just did a 3-day competition with about 6 events and I'm wiped. So I put je suis épuisé. Épuisé is the French adjective for exhausted. Notice I put a little E at the end. Accent aigu, E with the acute accent, and E are not the same thing. So I've put another E at the end. Anyone remember why? Yes, because I'm the one talking, I'm female, we have an agreement with adjectives. Adjectives that describe a feminine person or noun has an E at the end. So, Josh, he's a boy. Josh est ennuyé. Anyone know what ennuyé is? How about you take a moment and guess? You got it. He's bored. He hates getting dragged to my competitions. Actually, no, that's not true. He likes it, but he pretends to be bored all the time. So ennuyé is the adjective for bored. Notice how it's an accent aigu at the end. I'm not adding an E this time because Josh is a boy. We're leaving it as is. Kara est énergique. She always gets super pumped when we get to watch these kinds of events. Now, énergique, it looks as if I added an E, but I actually didn't. This word ends with QUE regardless. Remember when we talked about adjectives and some of the examples, those words ended with E anyway? So there was no point in adding one. You're not going to add an extra one. You're just going to leave it as is. So even though Kara is a girl, this stays the same. For those of you that have your French notes at home, you can go back and review those adjectives and their agreements. This will make sense. Now, one for all of us together. We really enjoyed our trip. We were so happy to finally see Montreal and to see it together. Nous sommes contents. How do we spell content? There's nous. This is a group of people. We're not using the feminine because there's a boy in the mix. So we're using the masculine agreement, which is not to add an E, leave it alone. But since there's a group of us, we add that S in the end. All right. Now you've got a whole bunch of short, simple sentences. You're going to put it all together in a paragraph. Remember when we did our unit on paragraph structure in the middle of the school year? There's a few things a paragraph has to have, and those are no different in French than they are in English. You're going to do that indentation. That's important. If you're typing, press the tab button. If you're handwriting, it's about the width of your thumb. And that's a paragraph. Okay, here's a list of some useful words, because obviously when you connect your sentences, you're going to need to use some conjunctions, things like that. So here's a few useful words that you might like. So feel free to pause this and write it down if you like. Mais, which means but. I used that one in my one of my examples. Quand means when. Et means and. Qui means who. Now there's two U's here. One of them has an accent grave on the U, and one of them doesn't. The U without the accent means or. The U with the accent means where. Try to find a few others. So conjunctions is something that you're looking for. And here's a biggie. Really star this if you're making notes. Remember les prépositions. It was the very first assignment that we did in September. Prepositions, or les prépositions, are little tiny words that describe physical placement of things. These are very likely going to come in handy. You're going to have to review them because this was like 8 months ago that we did this. So those were the sur, sous, devant, derrière, à côté de. Those were the basic ones. Sur, sous, devant, derrière, à côté de. And we also did a little assignment where you guys found some of your own. So those of you that kept your stuff in good order, you should have a very long list of those somewhere. Those are really going to come in handy with this. What I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to take my sentences I made and type them up into a paragraph so you can see what it'll look like. And I will email that out to you. And that way you can have that as a reference. Hopefully you guys can pause this video and take notes with these, because what I've done here is going to be pretty helpful. Just like the final English, you have until end of day on June 15th to get this in. That is a Friday. I am planning on writing your reports that weekend. They're due the following week in the office. So I will be writing reports that week. So that Monday, the 18th, I believe, I don't know if my math is, anyway, don't quote me on that. That following week, there's a very short day or two before I have to get them in to Mrs. S. So if anybody's missing anything, you can work on that. Anyway, you've got quite a bit of time. It is the 3rd. The 15th, that is 12 days away. So you got a lot of time for that. So this final English and final French, I need those before I can create a grade for you, okay? So focus on those if you happen to be one of the ones who's missing some other things. And again, if you need any help or have any specific questions, please just drop me an email. I will help you out as best I can. If you want to write 1 or 2 sentences to see if you're on the right track and send me those before you do the whole thing only to find out that you made a mistake, please, please, please do that. It takes me virtually no time to open up one of your emails and say, okay, this is good, but this could be better, or, oh, no, you did the wrong word here. Oh, oops, how about try this? I would rather that than you do the whole thing and have it full of mistakes. So feel free to do a sentence or 2. Send me those and I'll let you know if you're on the right track before you put in all this effort to the rest of it. Anyway, 12 days. Then grade 8 for Mrs. Barnes is done. Have a good day, guys.